to look over the minutes from July and
Okay,
September.
those ones that were the closed session, and since we are doing Zoom, we won't be able to look at those. So we'll just go over the regulars unless you're wanting.
But if we've looked at them, we can approve them.
Not for we've not given them out. Nobody's seen them.
No, we don't. We're live on YouTube, so we will have to maybe delay that toward the end of the meeting, and then we can log off of YouTube section to do that.
Okay, moving right along. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Do I get a motion to approve the agenda?
We got that.
Okay. That brings us to the director's report.
Okay, I asked Andrea Phillips today to come and tell us all about how COVID is affecting Medicaid and what changes have been made recently and how we're managing things. So this is just an update. Andrea?
So if everybody had been here, I actually made you a list of everything the state has sent us to change since March. Every change letter. But as you're aware, North Carolina declared a state of emergency on March the 10th, and then the president called his state of emergency on March the 13th. We as Medicaid workers have faced an unprecedented amount of challenges due to the policy changes, the changes in guidelines, and the general indecisiveness by our state leadership, as well as an influx of applications. If you are interested, I've got these in my office. If any of y'all want one to see what we're dealing with, I'll be glad to get it to you some way or another. And actually, while all of this is going on, we are still under the MECQ and RETA audits for this fiscal year, plus our single county audits going on. And the Medicaid managed care that we discussed the last time that I met with you guys was placed on hold in November due to a budget impasse. We recently received notification that the state has found money to put this process back, and our new go live date is February of 2021. Once it's available and loaded, the state processes all changes that were in the works. We could potentially be looking at hiring anywhere from 7 to 9 new workers if the push for expansion is released. So if you've got any questions or would like any further information, you can call me. I'll be glad to talk to any of you.
You said that they delayed it November, but that the new start date, go live date would be February 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was due to budget cuts at that time back
No,
then?
there was a budget impasse, meaning they couldn't
They
decide.
never passed the budget.
Remember?
Yep. Okay.
So what we're doing is just putting one foot in front of the other and still trying to see to the welfare of our clients as best we can. I think part of the issue is everyone anticipated that COVID would be over by now. And I think they kept putting things off for a month or two, and then we got there and then COVID was still here. And so I think right now they're sort of making it up as they go along. Mm-hmm. And so I anticipate that the managed care piece will be pushed back. I don't think it'll start in February.
I would say so too. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think I would be very surprised if it starts in February. So just stay tuned, and if you have anyone approach you with any questions, let us know. We'll be glad to try to help them. I can see a question mark over your head.
It can't start in February. They're too far behind. I mean, the state is too far behind.
The state doesn't even have a budget.
No. I mean, it can't.
For last year, that's true.
Well, they do a budget for 2 years.
But they supposedly allotted this funds, but.
But see, what that does then is it opens it up so that they can have us jumping through hoops and doing all this ridiculous legwork that we've already done one time before, on top of everything else that we normally do. And then they push it back again. So then we end up having to go around and do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Because we've already been through this once and had everything caught up and ready to go live.
And another thing that concerns me, which I know it concerns you all, but it really concerns me, is where are you gonna put 7 to 10 more employees when you're sitting in 4 to 5 offices now? That, this is, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this is something that needs to be brought to the commissioner's attention as to what the state is actually going to have to do, or what they're intending to do, because the county is going to have to provide places for these people to work.
True.
And I assure you, I probably am the only commissioner that knows this. That makes sense.
Philip knows about it because I basically told him last budget,
He knows about it.
and he,
Believe me.
I think he fully intended to be
Proactive in finding something.
proactive in
Mhm.
in the building or building procurement process. But he flat out told me this COVID stuff threw him for a loop and he wasn't expecting this. And I think it's just what has happened with everybody.
Well, but
But,
two
yeah.
of the ideas that were being tossed
Mhm.
around have both fallen through, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I will
One's in the
remind,
swamp and the other one's,
I will remind everyone that unless it changes, and right now, we all know nothing is written in stone. Unless it changes, there is a 65% reimbursement
Mhm.
on the county's investment in building or buying a building. So, yes, it's a big investment, but you're looking at, 30 years in the
35%.
future. Yeah. You're gonna have to do something anyway, so
and that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
To me.
it is. So we'll stay on top of that and we'll be starting after Christmas, looking at our budget again, trying to make decisions based on what we know at that time,
Mhm.
which,
Who knows?
who knows?
How many employees are you short right now?
We have one vacancy currently
And 2 approved positions from
that we
the new
didn't
budget
have
that
not
have not
filled.
been
So
filled.
that's 3.
Mhm. And we can house those positions that was in the planning, but, any more than that, we could not. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, though.
I promised her she'd be free to go as soon as she was
You'll
through,
get
so.
lost.
I'll get mine.
All right. Bye.
I just have one other small thing that I wanted you all to know about. There's a piece of funding, called COVID Cares. And it's, part of the Federal CARES Act funding that has come down in part of that first stimulus bill that they passed. It's for adult protective services and child protective services, foster care, and for links. And for adult protective services and CPS, the funding was $8.3 million for foster care stipends, which goes directly to the foster families. It's $4,350,000, and for links, it's $290,000. So Shannon and Truman and I sat in on a webinar last week about what we could do to spend the money that was our portion. We don't, obviously, we're not getting
I was gonna say, we're
million.
not getting $15 million.
No. We're getting $9,486
Out of 15 million?
out of,
Well, that's not counting, that's just the APS and CPS, the stipends wasn't included in that, right?
right, the
But
stipends.
that's still 12 million.
I keep wanting to stick my finger in my. Stipends, the last deposit on the stipends was 4,000. So, in any event, we sat in on a webinar last week, and they were saying we need to spend it by December 30th. I don't want to leave the money on the table, so we wanted to listen in on how we could spend that money. Shanda wanted me to buy her a 4x4 so she could get up to some of the clients' houses. We were brainstorming, thinking out of the box, what could we do with it? In the webinar, we learned that you can't not use it to give bonuses to people who have been working through COVID. You cannot use it to buy vehicles. So there went the 4x4. We were sitting here thinking, well, this is useless. They're giving us money, but they've got so many restrictions on it that we can't figure out whether it's worth our time to even use it. But we got to brainstorming and we got to thinking, and we are allowed to use it for like computer hardware that allows people to telecommute or to attend training and that type of thing. So
Meetings.
Yeah,
some of their
meetings
foster-
meetings for foster families that are still being virtual, that type of thing. So we're going to spend that money between now and the end of December and use it to benefit social workers as far as they're being able to work virtually or to sit in their offices and attend meetings and be trained during COVID. So I just want to let you all know that we will be spending that little bit of money, and that's how we're going to do it. Unless anyone has any other ideas.
Spend it.
Buy cameras for all the social workers to put on their computers.
Yeah, they're going to get the little cameras.
That'd be good.
Maybe some extra iPads.
Yeah, that kind of thing, whatever we can find, the best way we can spend that money, but it just goes against my brain is to even leave that money there, even though it's less than $10,000. So, want to let y'all know about that. Other than that, I think everything's going well. We don't have any upheaval, anything going on right now. So, any questions? I'll give you this to keep up with.
Okay. So are we gonna do the closed session minutes?